Anthony and Nieto.
The boys.
The boys.
The boys are in there already. How's it going,
Good
guys?
day, good evening. I guess, y'all. RoughRiffs, I think it's not evening where you are. It might be daytime where you are already. I'm not exactly sure. Is
Yeah, I forget.
RoughRiffs not in like New Zealand or Australia?
Yeah, I forget who's in Australia. There's a couple Australia, New Zealand fellas.
Couple fellas out
Several.
there in the zone. I'm gonna do this. Wow, nice. And bam, notes and everything. Holy jumping. So, Nick Hill, good evening.
Hi, Bunn. How are you?
I'm very good. Yourself?
I'm good.
There's a little
These
bit
are
of
genuine. These are genuine questions. Bunn and I have gone a couple days without talking. It's weird.
Yeah, I've been on like social media lockout and like
No, it's good.
extreme focus bender, I guess.
I 100% support it. It's
Yeah.
weird for me because I clearly have some codependency when it comes to certain people. Oh, man.
That's amazing.
I start getting a little bit
13
anxious.
Flaws is in Oz.
Right.
Right. That's right. That's right. But yeah, today's Bandless. Today's Bandless, Nick Hill, is going to be the 2021 sort of quarterly review. Essentially, what we're going to be talking about today is from each of our perspectives, kind of how far what we've put ourselves to so far in 2021, because we kind of opened the year up talking about like, what do we want to go for? What do we want to achieve this year? What are we going to make the focus?
Yeah.
So this is sort of a touch on what has actually happened, how it's going, and kind of what the view is going forward. And we're going to kind of go back and forth, as well as we're going to throw it to, the crowd, the gang in the comments, and see how it's going for them, how they feel about their progress so far in 2021, what might be in people's way, and maybe kind of different ways to think about going forward. I know it's been very interesting for both of us, and I'm sure it's very interesting for everybody out there.
Yeah.
Even if it's minor, progress or minor impedances, I think it's stuff that we should all sort of talk about.
Yeah. So, exactly. We're kind of doing a recap of so far what we've been going through. I kind of put it 3 ways. We want to kind of celebrate some victories we've had thus far in the year, some pivotal learnings, some key pivotal learnings that we've kind of come across, and of course areas for opportunity, which is a polite way of saying, what do we need to work on?
Yeah.
And I think it's important to of course you have to address those areas of opportunity. It's a very managerial way of saying it. But something we definitely wanted to do was kind of focus on, what's gone good so far for us individually and with Bandless, of course, and where we feel like we can improve. And I definitely know that I have some areas of improvement, but I don't want to come across like I have a tendency to do and focus on the negative. Like there's been obviously some great things.
Yeah.
But this was
the negative is important because it informs what is in fact positive currently and what the path to positive might be.
Right.
Negative is important because without negative there is no positive.
No, you're totally you're right. You're absolutely right.
Some quick hellos in the comments here. We've got RoughRiffs, Anthony Nieto, 13 Flaws, Reed, and Cosman. How are you guys? Good to see you out
How's
this
it going,
evening.
everybody?
Hope everything is good for you guys. Hope things are moving along for all y'all. Who's getting ready for this upcoming Bandcamp Friday? I'm trying.
Dude, is that happening?
Yeah, it's May 7th.
Oh, so we got 2 weeks.
Got 2 weeks, yeah.
Oh, that's good to know.
2 weeks. I'm still cooking. I have like 3 almost finished tracks, but I just seem to get stuck on all of them. Of 3 different projects, a Vents thing, a Wetlands thing, and a Foreigns thing.
Oh crap! Nice.
Yeah.
Well,
Just a single track each, but
you know what you would tell me? Finish one of them.
just finish. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Like, the benefit of having all 3 is like the one that has the most clear path is the one that you focus on, and if for some reason you're stuck and you're like, I just like nothing's happening, switch gears,
Totally.
you know, and
Absolutely.
it promotes like sort of a fresh slate of thinking. It's all just music, you know, it's not like
Yeah, it's nice that you kind of have the 3 things simultaneously, because you can right there. You can be all right, maybe make a little bit of progress, and you're like, I'm stuck, move on to the next thing. I'm stuck, move on to the next thing.
yeah.
While
Yeah.
some people could see it as a sort of a negative, I actually think it's a positive. I think it's nice, so
Yeah.
long as you finish one of them.
Finish one.
by the 7th. Oh
Yeah.
man.
It's funny, you know, I started my Wetlands project thinking I'm going to be like, I'm not going to care about this or whatever. And then I kind of discovered a sound, and
Yeah.
now I'm really particular about what I do with it, because I'm like, it has to be badass.
Right. Right.
Although the road by which I get to badass is less picky now. I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of know what badass is.
It's so funny that you bring that up, because I've started working on new Wells stuff, and even Steven's like, dude, start writing new Wells stuff. Like, let's go. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh shit, okay. It kind of pumped me up even more.
Yeah.
And
sick.
I've been sitting there, and I'm like, this has to sound this way. And I'm like, oh shit, it's Bunn. I'm happening. It's Bunn. I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. So I started writing a few things, which is cool. Yeah, Cosman sent me something that I'm gonna work on with him. I just,
nice.
Man, it's so funny. Like, we went all that time. Obviously, 2020 was insane, and we had a little bit of, at least I did, flexibility. I felt like I had more flexibility. It was still working, but
Yeah.
like once things started like creeping into the world of normalcy, like we've just been nuts. So.
Yeah.
Even this week, I've been even through the weekend. I was working on projects for clients through work, and it's good because obviously, you know, I need the company to thrive. It's my livelihood right now. So, but it's just been like, it was like, you know, I was good, had a nice balance, and then it just completely got obliterated, which
Right.
you know it's a good challenge. You know, I was able to still squeak out a video, which is good.
Yeah. So that.
And it has a lot to do with what we're talking about too, with ways I can, you know, adjust and improve.
It's difficult, you know. I know Nick. I'm curious if anybody else in the stream is familiar with these things, but I know, Nick, you are a fan of some of the I don't know, the modern day thinkers like the Tim Ferrisses.
Mm-hmm.
And the James Clears. And are you familiar with James Clear?
I think we've talked about. I think he's on my list of these guys that I'm very much into that.
Yeah, it's that stuff. It doesn't.
Yeah.
They all kind of overlap in various ways. Some people approach things more holistically. Some people approach them more athletically. Or competitively, like self-competition type of thing. Some people approach it scientifically. I'm interested in the cross-section of all of it, like where it all sort of intersects.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I ran over here.
I know, I could tell.
Like, I worked here all day, and then I went home for supper, and then I ran back, and I'm still catching my breath. Because I'm like, oh,
build a studio over there at Care Bear's house.
Yeah, well, I was doing a bunch of like copy editing for Ven's stuff, and and I'm like, holy crap, I gotta be there in 10 minutes. I went home for supper, but yeah. Anyway, But
You made it.
yeah, these things, these people, going back to that, that are sort of performance. They're all about performance or effectiveness or minimalism,
Optimization.
optimization, all this sort of stuff.
Hmm.
And you know, that's something I think that's going to be a big topic today in what we're talking about. But you being away, um, like you getting a lot done, but also kind of like suddenly being away for work or being
Hmm.
at least busy with work, being
Hmm.
home able to do things, but you're too busy or whatever.
Yeah.
Uh, um, since your last thing away to Florida,
Hmm.
have you kind of like been able to readjust? Because that was a major wrench in your progress.
It was, and I'm going to preface it, not that it needs to be said, but I love my job, and I'm appreciative of the people I work for. But yeah, so I went on 2 shoots in like 3 weeks, both out of state, and it was like from zero to boom, here we go. Week-long shoots too, long days. Um, Good for the company, of course, but it set me back because I didn't prepare as well as I probably should have. And in coming back, after Wells kind of came out, we talked about this, like that little bit of like valley that I seem to go into after a creative like victory.
Yeah.
Um, Trying to climb out of that, and then I was also working on a really tight deadline turnaround for another thing for work that I basically worked through the weekend and got it done finally. Um, so I have a couple days coming up, a few extra days coming up, I think, to make up for some of the extra work I've been putting in. And I'm really in a headspace where it's like, okay, I have an opportunity here to get ahead or to like get organized. I think that's my biggest problem. We'll get into it, of course, but that's my like something that I've learned so much from you, and you have a lot of good organizational techniques and preparation that I really love, and like they help you, and I know they will help me, but it's applying them.
Yeah.
That's my problem.
We're going to get
It's a
into it.
glaring issue I have.
So I have the exact same issues, and that's the reason why I've taken to some of the things. And we're going to get into that, but let's actually open up the full topic here,
Yeah.
like in a more focused way. And you know, just very quickly before we get into that, a few more hellos. I see Mike Hoover has joined us. Development
Oh,
of
yep.
a Void.
So Mike,
And
Aaron.
I think is Aaron in there too?
Yep, Aaron's in there. Baritone Colt.
My feed isn't. Oh, there he is. Okay. Scroll down, Scott. Baritone Call, how you doing? Just a little hello to all y'all. But yeah, I can see also in the comments that a lot of people are kind of trying to get to it, which is nice. So that's what we're getting. What have we got so far? 2021, 3 months in. How are
Can't
we
believe
doing?
it, right?
I know it's crazy.
Yeah.
Or a review of the first quarter, sort of, so to speak. So, Nick, number one, celebrated victories. What have been some of your victories for 2021 thus far, and how are they kind of informing going forward?
Yeah. So the first thing is 2020 was rough on everybody, of course. We don't need to really get into too much detail. I think that's a unanimous kind of consensus. We got a lot done on the channel here, I feel like, in 2020 and had a lot of momentum. And that kind of carried over into the first couple months for sure. So that was definitely a win, making the best of the situation and all of that. Building the community on not only my channel, but of course here, you know, has been a huge win, a motivating factor. And quite honestly, just something like, you know, when weeks were rough, I know both of us felt this way, like being able to like, okay, cool, take a breath. We're going to do Bandless and we get to hang out and shoot the shit and then hang out with everybody in the comments. So that has been a huge thing for, I think, both of us, but definitely me for sure.
Yeah.
Of course, you know, new music already this year with Wells and working on even more Wells and collaboration as part of that, of course, with Steven. I've still putting myself out there outside of YouTube to do more video work. I have a couple things lined up for new video work, which is good. It's just something I like to do. And of course, I have a couple, collaborations with. We don't do it too much on the channel, but working with some brands that I feel like are actually useful in the direction of being creative, as far as like stuff for the Baritone build. The guys at Mad Hatter sent me one of their wiring kits to put in the Baritone build, and it went together, and it sounds sick. And of course, videos about all that stuff is coming. And the most recent thing was with Drums and Tones, and they just out of the blue sent me this IR pack, which of course I say in the video I wasn't really didn't have a ton of interest in, but you and I talked about it, and I liked the way they approached it, so I thought it was useful to people.
A creative approach to
Yes.
To the use of these things, or the implementation of these things. Yeah, I'm stoked for that video to come out, because I think maybe not everybody's going to get it, but I think it's going to be useful to those who are kind of in the right space of right man frame for it. I think it'll be hugely a great thing for those folks.
Yeah. So yeah, there's definitely been some good stuff already this year.
Very cool.
Yeah. How about you, Bunn?
Yeah, it's been a very interesting year.
Yeah, you took a huge leap, man, and I think it's worth bringing that up for sure.
Yeah, everything was, for 2021 so far, everything was like about change, like up until now, and I'm just starting to kind of like feel some anchors again. And it was a kind of, even though I was kind of going through it and I was in it, I sort of didn't accept that everything was changing and that everything was up in the air, and I was just trying to make it work anyway. And I think maybe that was the wrong approach. I think I could have benefit from taking a step back and being like, what is happening?
Yeah.
And how do I work with this? Instead of trying to just keep going the way that I was going. I didn't see it, and I'm only seeing it now, but now it's like everything's kind of planed out, and now I'm sort of back to normal. So that was a huge eye-opener. At the top of the year, I had major computer issues. Like, not only was the computer like highly problematic, but the monitor also burnt out all at the same time.
I
was like,
all about this.
I was like, really? Like, I don't need this issue right now. Because I was just starting to actually feel like things were really happening.
Yeah, you had some momentum, and then some definite speed bumps and hurdles came about.
Things were kind of happening on both musical output as well as the sort of video side of things. But that was interesting because it kind of, somehow I ended up in the live stream thing. You and I jumped on a Google call.
Yep.
A Google video call. I guess it was the end of November or something like that. When all this stuff was starting to happen. And I'm like, this works. And you're like, yeah, it totally works. You should live stream. I'm like, I'm going to try. And that led into all of this.
Yeah.
So that has been a huge, a very interesting thing. And so much so to the point where the live streaming kind of took over my channel almost to a negative. And I need to kind of ease up on the live streaming on my own channel.
Yeah.
Because,
no, there's something to it.
I prepare those shows, and I'm like, if I'm going to prepare shows, if I'm going to do live streams, maybe I do it like once a month. I don't think once a week is good, because I'm spending all this time preparing the shows. I'm like, I should just prepare videos, because produced videos, I think, will answer those topics much more effectively.
Yeah.
But it's been an interesting experience doing the live streams, and just kind of understanding what that's all about, and seeing everything from a different perspective. So it was just like a lot of change.
It was.
And kind of going back to my favorite saying of, the main thing is keeping the main thing the main thing.
Mm-hmm.
That was maybe my big takeaway
Yes.
throughout the whole thing. So here I am, uh, ready to focus more on produced videos. Well, not ready. I have been the past little while, and there's a bunch of videos, a couple videos done. One's going to come out tomorrow, and on and on.
Excellent.
As well as been focusing a lot on Patreon and YouTube memberships, like a lot of content, meaningful things for those places. So I've been doing a lot of that, which makes me happy because I always felt like I wasn't doing enough there, and lately I've been interacting there more than anywhere.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely, I feel the same. Like I have just probably been doing the bare minimum, and it does kind of eat away at me a little bit.
Yeah. Because like there's that pressure of like, I want it to be meaningful.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I don't know what to do that's going to be meaningful.
Yeah, and I think maybe my biggest problem is overthinking it and just
Absolutely.
like
It's my
do
biggest
something
problem.
because the biggest supporters, they want to see all the minutia and the nitty gritty and the behind the scenes and all the little things that you're like, well, who nobody's gonna like. No, that's not the case. They want, that's part of it. So
Yeah, I don't think it should be too produced in terms
Yeah.
of video content, but it doesn't have to be video content only. That's I think the mistake that I was
that's
making
yeah,
for a
that's
long
see,
time.
that's a good point, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, shit, very good
Um,
point.
So, yeah, and I think that applies to everything. Like, if as a creator in any space, um, what taking a look at what you're doing. So, our focus is video and audio. We produce audio music and we produce video content. However, out of both of those things comes a whole bunch of other stuff. And a lot of it is potentially meaningful to somebody, helpful to somebody, the process of this or how I put this together or whatever. Like if you're doing an album jacket, like a cover, how I come up with my covers, da 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 da. It can be just a text or image and text post. It can be just clips of the riffs that you have so far in a tune that you're working on, and the explanation of sort of how you got here. Because I don't know, for me personally, I've found that stuff to be so interesting in terms of the people that I've looked up to as creatives in the past.
Yeah.
Like, how do you do it? What do you use? Like, what is happening? And it's led me to here.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I think it is just for me, it's just a matter of just overthinking everything lately, which is kind of weird. I came off such a long stretch of time where I wasn't doing that, and it was kind of just plugging away and putting out what I wanted to put out. If I felt it was useful or helpful or would inspire some creativity, I was doing it. And then, a couple months into this year, I've just been madly overthinking things, to a detriment.
I've noticed like you're very stuck on like, what do I do? And
Yeah,
I
it's
feel
kind of
like
bizarre.
every time you're asking that, like that answer is kind of in the question that you're asking.
Yeah, it is.
Which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, thinking about it too much. I've done it. I know all about it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Should we move on to point two?
Point two, I think the last thing that I want to touch on here is I've really gotten hip to schedule and rhythm.
Yes.
That rhythm comes out of schedule, and the schedule, none of it has to be like when you say those words, a lot of people immediately go to like a totally blocked out calendar with all this detail in it and all that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm approaching this in a really minimal way, and I think we may have touched on it in the last episode of Bandless, but something that I used to do was block out the calendar with all this detail and all this kind of stuff. And sometimes it just got too overwhelming or whatever. And now my thing is the one major thing every day. So all I need to keep track of is what are maybe the 4 major things that are maybe on the docket for this month,
Mm-hmm.
and what is the thing that I can do right now.
Yeah.
But it has to be part of that major thing, like things like social media content or whatever. All of those things, I used to think of those things as another thing that I had to come up with, and now I'm like, those things just come out of the thing that I'm already doing. And if I don't have content for today, that's fine, because I want it to be meaningful, and I'm not going to just make something up unless I come across something that's just fun, you know. But yeah, keeping it really simple and sticking to that rhythm, like the schedule. The rhythm is the schedule.
Right.
One major thing every day, and it doesn't matter if that major thing takes only 10 minutes to do.
Well,
When I say major thing, I mean leading to a major end result. A major end result would be a video, like for me, would be a produced video or a song
Yeah.
that I can release. And those
Yeah.
are the only 2 things that I make. So those are the 2, you know, it's not too hard to keep track of.
Yeah, and I think like you make a good point. Like, I think when people hear the word, and even Cosman says a comment about like schedule can kind of make people clam up and
Yeah.
freak out a little bit.
It
Or
did to me. I know it does to you.
yeah, but it's funny when we think about it in a reflective way like this. It's always like think of it as like I'll do brain dumps all the time. Um,
Yeah, I
I'll
do it
do
every morning.
yeah,
Every
in a
single
goop.
morning.
It's basically like you don't have to be so stick to it in a rigid fashion, but what you're doing is you're setting yourself up for that momentum, you know, that rhythm, like you said. Like, get the idea down and you can see it somewhere and be like,
Yeah.
okay, I got these things I need to do so that I can feel like I'm accomplishing something.
Do you feel like pen and paper is
There's
like
something for me in
hard?
pen and paper, man.
Yeah, me too. And it's
Um,
like just a few points. Like it doesn't need to be super elaborate.
yep, yep.
Just
I,
like
I
what is top of mind for today?
I really wish I could write on my phone. I know I can if I got a stylus, but like that would be beneficial to me. I like writing it. Writing it for some reason does something. I have
Well,
a
a
notebook.
physical connection to your neurons.
Yeah. Yeah, I know
Let's
I'm
talk
not
about
the only one.
science.
Yeah. Totally. I mean, that's why when you write your spelling words 10 times each, you know, cuz
Yeah.
it's doing something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do like writing stuff down, and when I seem to build a little bit of momentum, it's generally because there's notes on my fucking notepad right there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, so if
And
I
keep them simple.
yeah, if I get better at recognizing that these are the things that propel me, then I think I'm going to get out of, you know what I mean? Like, I'll be on the other side of whatever this stupid funk seems to be. And I definitely feel like um in the last couple days it's like not been about being so negative about the fact that I slipped a couple weeks with the video and et cetera,
Yeah.
et cetera. It's been stepping back and being like, look, dude, sometimes this is going to happen. And I have this in one of my notes too. It's like,
Right.
sometimes this is going to happen. Like,
Yeah.
be okay with it. Like, give yourself a little bit of grace. And what can you do to avoid this in the future, you know?
Yeah. I don't feel that guilty when I miss a month if I know that it's because I, you know,
Yeah. I know what you can.
yeah, like
there's a meaningful reason.
yeah,
You know, it's not
reason.
it's not out of laziness for sure.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before.
It just it's I guess when you do have some momentum, you know, you're like, oh, I want to hold on to it.
Yeah, and plus I liked that we, you know, you and I, it was like a bonding thing for us. We set up this challenge so long ago to ourselves, not to anybody.
Yeah.
And it was for no reason other than like, we want real growth. This is what we have to do. Chip
Yeah.
away at it.
Yeah.
So we were doing it for so long. And I think that's just all it is. It's nothing pivotal or mega important. It was just like, it was because we challenged ourselves with it. And in turn, I'm challenged myself, and I sort of like, in a way, not for no reason, kind of fell off a little bit. And then I just got a little too hard on myself. But then, like you just point out all the time, it's like, bruh, you were working. Like, you weren't doing nothing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, crazy, right?
It's crazy. You got some water. I didn't get myself some water. I'm going to get some in a minute. We're going to grab a few comments. Nikhil, how do you feel about that?
Absolutely.
All right. Do you have eyes on anything specifically? All right.
This is
so that's the one I was going to click.
There we go. Reed says, my wife makes a to-do list every day. She's been trying to get me to do the same. I think I may. It seems like a good way to prioritize and get the one thing done. So yeah, I know this. I know it works. That's the annoying thing.
Yeah. Whoa.
What happened?
I need to get to the bottom of the thing here.
Oh yeah.
Whatchamacallit, Mr. Cosman says, I like that Bunn identified the end product. It's not about me, why I clicked on this. These are what I do that helps take the sting out of the regiment.
Yeah.
And yeah, being clear on what the goal is, and also not getting swept away with sort of the daily minutia. So in the case of being a person who makes things and releases them into the internet and whatnot, so I make videos and music, for the longest time, as I was figuring all this stuff out, I would get swept away with social media, because there's this pressure that you're like, oh, you're supposed to do social media. And I'm like, oh, well, I see the benefit of it, but I'm still playing with it and trying to understand it and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of got swept away with that for a really long time. And it's only recent that I'm like, okay, make sure that the main thing is the main thing, which is music and videos.
Yep.
And they are part and parcel. They have a very defined relationship, and everything else, social media and otherwise, comes out of that. But yeah, having that clear end goal. It's not my idea, a lot of the people we were talking about.
It's a tried and true methodology too. Yeah.
The folks we were talking about at the top of the show, like a lot of these performance people, or whatever you want to call them, business leaders, marketing experts. I don't know what to call them.
Yeah. Cosman says the end in mind. And I think the phrase keep the end in mind, I want to say I first heard from 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I might be wrong, might be mixing one of these books up with another book, but keeping the end in mind is always
I always think about the trip analogy. Do you know the trip analogy?
No.
It's like if you're planning a trip, let's say you're going to go to New York City, or let's say you're going to go on a trip. Well, if you plan a trip to nowhere, where are you going to end up? Like if you don't pick a destination.
Right. You probably won't even leave.
Yeah. And there's a whole bunch of other things that get in the way if there's no destination in mind. Like how much money do you need? What kind of mode of transport are you going to take?
Oh, yeah.
Et cetera, et cetera.
Reveal themselves.
Yeah. So having a clear end, the trip analogy is a really good way to sort of think about that. Because if you're like, I'm going to New York City and I live in Wisconsin, I know how far it is. I know the method of transportation that is required. I know I can plan for exactly how much money I will need to execute the travel. I'll be able to figure out approximately how many days or hours or whatever, so I will know how much I need to eat throughout that time, etc. Like there's a whole bunch of things that just fall into place.
Absolutely. That's a great
analogy. As soon
analogy.
as you have the end in mind that way.
A couple quick ones real quick.
Yep.
Obviously. Quick ones real quick.
I like it.
I can relate. This is me in a nutshell, 13 flaws. I have bursts of trying to be super organized. Unfortunately, they don't last too long. That's an obstacle that I definitely myself need to get over.
And I think maybe the language there, the bursts of super organized, that might be the problem. Like
yeah, maybe
trying
you gotta
to
level it off, huh?
trying to fix everything in
Trying
one.
to go too hard at one time. Yep.
Yeah.
And you overwhelm yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tell this to my kids all the time. It's like they'll set goals or expectations of a thing. Sports will come to mind, or a certain thing they want to get good at, and be like, dude, you can't set out to be here without starting down here, you know? There's a lot of space in between. Like you always say, it's like the biggest leap is between not having any skill or
One
some,
skill.
like 0 and 1, you know, 0 and 1. The difference between 0
Huge
and 1
gap.
is the biggest. Yeah.
And every gap gets smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Aaron says this, I still carry paper notebook for business along with my computer habit, but it's easy and simple. Yeah. Something about a notebook, man.
Yeah, you don't have to log in to take a note and then save it somewhere and then forget where you saved it. It's like notebook is just so simple.
It is, and oftentimes it'll kind of, you'll get like diarrhea, you know, you'll just keep writing, you know, you'll get an idea and you're like, okay, okay. Yep.
Very easy to record ideas as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, man.
Amazing. And Renato, hello Renato, how are you? I had to accept that there are times to act and times to overthink. Still try to keep a healthy balance. Yeah, sometimes critical thinking, obviously, is very beneficial, very needed. But yeah, what you say about the balance, understanding when to kind of, just go for it, just do the action, and then just take pause and be like, what's going on? Hugely beneficial.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man. And that's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of us know, we know the answers, right? Like, we know what we should probably be doing. I guess it's that connection between execution. So, yeah. At least that's my problem.
They have a direct relationship. Are we going to get to point 2?
Yeah, let's do it.
Is that something you want to do, Mr. Hill?
Yeah, Dr. Seuss. Key and pivotal learnings from this year so far.
Oh, God.
Let's let you start. What do you think?
I think the biggest thing is realizing that that everything comes from the main thing. Realizing that the end is the most important thing, even though I'm a process guy. Like I'm doing it to be in the process. I think maybe that's another thing to get clear on. But like the end is only important because the end is what tells me what the process is. And I love the process. I love making music.
Yeah.
Once I've created a piece of music, of course I'm stoked on that piece of music, but it's more the process of getting there that I'm hella pumped on. But keeping that end in mind, clear, it's like, what am I doing this for? I'm doing this so that I can make music and make cool cinematic videos. And then everything else fills in around that. And it's not the other way around. It's not the tiny things that maybe I will get to the videos or the music. It's going towards the videos and music that everything else will happen. And that has been my biggest takeaway in this last 3 months. Like something that I was like, I need to be really serious about this. Because if I don't, it's just going to run away on me. I heard this, Josh Yo?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Make Art Now.
Yeah.
He had this video and there was this like really minor analogy in it. It was one, he does like occasionally does short films, right, on his channel.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was one of those. And there was this analogy. It's like, I can't even remember what it was related to, but, a young sort of, a young person asked their mentor, it's like, how did you do so well? And the person said, I just got good at catching a few bullet trains. Like there's a bullet train flying through my life and I need to know whether or not to catch it. And I just got good at being like, that's a bullet train running through my life right now, a bullet train towards success. And it's
Yeah.
not, it's going to be like that. I need to catch it right now.
Yeah.
I thought that was like an amazing analogy. And it kind of woke me up a little bit to, this thing. I'm like, realize not that I think my opportunity is like running away on me, but it will if I F around too much.
Yeah, I think it's speaking to like
If I don't make some decisions.
yeah, there it is. Sometimes you just need to act.
Yeah.
Act upon a thing. Like we have all our ideas and the things we're doing in front of us. Like sometimes you got to just know when to like, this is the thing I need to act on.
Yeah, not getting
because-
lost in all the busyness of it.
Yeah, man, that's great. Oh, yeah.
There's a bullet train running through your life. You better catch it, Nick Hill.
I like your other two. Get into those.
Oh yeah, the speed of ideas. That is definitely a thing. I've been keeping, as I said, I've been keeping a schedule, and my schedule is very simple. It's a very minimalist thing. Just like dedicate myself to one major thing every day, which means I know what I'm waking up for, which means I'm not overwhelmed, which means it's easier to sleep, which means I get up earlier on the regular.
Lo and behold.
And I get at it every day really early. And that whole rhythm of things, I've noticed just ideas come a lot easier. I was having a huge, like there's this wetlands tune, that I've been working on that I'm so stoked on. And I really want to finish it, but I was so stuck on a second part. And then what seemed to be the most obvious secondary part just came to me. I'm like, well, that's so obvious and stupid. How did I not think of that?
Yeah.
And I think what was happening is I was in this constant state of like feeling stuck with everything and giving into it.
Hey, I know what that feels like.
Yeah. And
it's
it
contagious,
was
apparently.
all it took was being like, F that. What's the next thing I have to do? And not worry about it. Just like, what is the next thing I got to do? I got to do this. Okay, I'm going to do that, and just focus on it like a routine. And out of it, the ideas just start flowing.
Yeah.
And that has been the case for the past while now for me.
Oh, that's good, man. That's fucking great.
And I see this in other people. My friend Charlotte, she is a illustrator. She's an artist. Well, that's the easiest way to just, she does a bunch of visual creative things. And she's been really focused on making this whole COVID thing, like using it as an opportunity to really build that out, as I think a lot of people have. And because she worked in a area where she couldn't work.
Correct.
I don't want to give away all of her personal details.
No, I sussed that out.
But anyway, she's been really focused on it, and the same is for her. She's in this like rhythm. She's just working on it every single day, normal sort of working hours, a minimum of 8 hours a day type of thing. And if it is only a 2 or 3 hour day, she doesn't feel bad about it. Just like focus on that 2 or 3 hours. But always keeping that next thing in mind. And same thing for her. Like the idea, she used to be like, what do I do for this? What do I do for that? And it just all comes now. And I think the big thing for me that I always had is like, just like probably the most obvious thing to you to do next creatively is probably the best idea, or at least the best one to start with. And it's better to start on a creative idea and explore it, because that will obviously lead to other things, than not do anything. To be like, oh, I think that idea isn't actually very good. Just try it.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely have talked about that in regards to like even just music or coming up with ideas or riffs. It's like struggle through those, like I guess we can use the videos for us as an analogy. Like, okay, it might not be the best video idea, but start it, get going, and see
Yeah.
where it could lead to.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Do you find, Nick Hill, like with videos, one of the things that I like about videos is that in certain respects, the video kind of makes itself. Like once you've shot the footage, you can only do so much with the edit. You only
hmm
have what you have to work with. And the topic, there's only so much of your mental capacity to approach the topic from however many perspectives. And it's a little bit more strategic. Whereas I think with music, it's a little bit more like aloof. Like the
yeah.
ideas for music kind of come out of nowhere. Whereas with videos, it is a bit more of a strategic thing, and it's just what you're excited to make, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's something to that. It's funny, like having gone literally a couple weeks without making a, what do we call it? An actual video, a not a live thing.
A produced
Um, yeah,
produced piece of
produced
content.
video,
Yeah.
produced content. I
Yeah.
did it with the Mendel IR pack, and I'm like, okay, why would this be useful? And I sat down. And I was kind of like, okay, well, it's the approach they took. Um, this is why I like it. Shit, this could help somebody else. So it did. It kind of like fell into place. I filmed it similarly, but also I added some different things to keep my interest. And then boom, it was done. Like editing at that point doesn't take very long, you
No.
know, because like you said, you have all the pieces, and we're at the point now where you know we can suss out while we're shooting what we're gonna need. So as long as you did your due diligence in some degree of planning or thoughtfulness, um, yeah, they do kind of piece themselves together.
A lot more I find than
Yeah.
music.
Oh, for sure. Music is, it's too nuanced, I think. Um,
Unless we were making hits. If we were making top 40 hits, it'd be a little bit different,
right.
you
But I'd probably overthink that too.
know.
And so you said something a little bit earlier that reminded me of something Steven said to me when I was working on one of the Wells tracks. I'm like, oh, I need to do this. I need to do this. I need to write one more thing or run more riff. And then Steven just straight up simply said, no, you don't. And I'm like, yeah, I don't. And then I finished it.
Yeah.
It's,
And it felt good.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Nick Hill,
Oh, yeah.
pivotal learnings.
My learnings.
At least one big one, but as many as you got.
Yeah, the first, like we've talked about this, and you probably mentioned it already, but the thing that I always go back to when anything is going on is like the music is the most fulfilling thing. It's the reason why I started doing YouTube. It's the reason why, I mean, it's the nucleus of all of it. I started writing music and I wanted people to hear it and then see it. So YouTube was born of it, and then being, finding ways to help people be creative. The music is the center of it all. So, that's one thing I constantly remind myself of. But in the early stages of this year, going through getting back into work and being in the stage I am right now, like that's the thing. We've talked about it before. You've said it. The music is the thing. The music is the thing. And it's like been wedged into my ear again in these first 3 months. So that's good. It's a good learning that I am constantly learning, which is, it's good.
And if we weren't, I don't know if I would be very interested.
Correct. I think that, oh yeah, for sure. I wouldn't be doing any of it.
Yeah.
The other thing is I mentioned before a little bit is it's okay to step back. Like you were saying, if you would have taken a step back and said, okay, what am I doing here? Maybe you would have gotten to this place a little bit sooner, but hindsight, right?
Yeah.
It's okay to take your time, to catch your breath, to regroup, to refocus, to realign yourself with what you think you need to be doing. Like take a step back, be it a day, be it an hour, be it a week. If that's what you need to recalibrate, then you need to take it, and don't be like me and beat yourself up for it.
Yeah.
be okay with like it's like the price of products has a certain level of shrink, and for I don't know if everybody's into, nobody knows the minutia of retail. Shrink is basically theft or damage. um, the price of items getting damaged in transit or stolen or defective is built in to the price of that product.
Yeah.
So build in, think of it, the regroup time as like it's built into your productivity. Like the cost of productivity is this
That's a
grace you're giving
great.
yourself.
I've never really thought of it from that perspective. That is actually
Me neither.
amazing.
It just came to me this week. You know, it's like, dude, this is part. It's like part of the cost of being creative, is neat is because I'm, you know, we've talked about it, and I've been in this like somewhat creative funk, and you know, I've talked about it on Bandless, and you know, hinted at it here and there. It's like, because I haven't been allowing myself that, like, just chill and regroup here, or like you said, like, I fell off the every week video thing because I was busy, like legitimately busy. So don't beat myself up for it. That was my biggest thing, and I'm trying to be more deliberate with allowing for that, you know. And then that's when I was kind of like, well, it's like, it's built into the price of being creative. You have to build it in. Think of it that way.
That's really good. That's so good.
Yeah. And the last kind of thing, the last kind of learning is, again, something we've spoken about on Bandless. And it's being like X amount of years into this writing music, or X amount of years I've been mixing music, or X amount of years I've been playing guitar, or X amount of years I've been doing YouTube now.
Yeah.
There's still going to be peaks and valleys, and I need to like realize don't let the valleys be a surprise. You know, I think I kind of came to the realization a couple Bandlesses ago when I finally set it into words, into the open air. Like, when I finish something creative, I automatically get into a little bit of a valley. It's like that thing is done. That excitement, it's like, it's not done, but it is, you know? It's like a packaged thing now.
Yeah.
So why do I still, X amount of years into mixing music, guitar, videos, do I still get surprised by it? So
Yeah.
stop
It's a weird
that.
thing.
Yeah, stop
I think,
that.
you know, something for myself in regards to that, I don't know. It probably translates a little bit differently, but still, it is about that exact thing. Is I tend to look at what I can do with what I have done, and I'm still excited about it that way.
Yeah.
So and that translates into a couple different things. Like, so I've created this piece of music. Let's say you've created this music, and you've put all this energy into the race up to the finish line, and the big kind of grand reveal, all of that, and it's all very exciting. And then you're like, what do I do with it from there? Well, like for me, usually it gets me stoked to make more music, or it gets me stoked to make more stuff surrounding that thing. So I try to find like the creative energy that is in the thing that is done. And it's not like an exercise. I naturally just sort of look at that stuff. I'm like, oh, I could do this with it. I could do that with it. It has motivated me to think this way about that, et cetera, et cetera. So perhaps there's an opportunity in it that way for yourself to kind of cure that, you know, that the big dump at the end. It's like, because I think you're just really out of energy. You just need to take a breath.
Yeah, that was also something that you pointed out too that I hadn't really thought about, and then it was kind of like I've been thinking about this, like build in the regroup time into it, like build it into the creative thing, like, because I think that's probably what it is, like the mental energy of, like, you know, working with Artie to get the art, working with Steven to get the songs finished.
Yeah, and there's a lot more with a project where you're collaborating with a number of other people, right? Yeah, it gets a little bit more difficult on the head. Not
It's
that it's like negative. It
no, no,
just
no,
like
no, no,
it
totally
just
not.
demands more of you.
Yes, and you know we've talked about it. It's a lot of little things. It's like creating a page on my web page for the well stuff. Band camps, like all the little like, oh, I got to do this. Oh, I got to do this. Oh, I got to do this. It's like, again, goes back to my lack of organization. If I was a little more organized with it, maybe it wouldn't feel like I'm tripping over the next thing I need to do when I just finish up one thing, you know?
Do you feel like you're kind of racing to each thing, racing to get each little detail done?
Yeah, I
Right.
do.
I think
Yeah.
that's part of what's going on right there.
Mm-hmm. For
Um,
sure.
I don't really have a clear, I don't have a recommendation for you, but I think recognizing that you're racing to each step is something that you have to kind of put into perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Listen
mean,
to me. I'm a psychologist.
well, you know what? We always kind of talk ourselves down about it, but it's like just the simple act of um, self-reflection and talking about the things that are going on in our head, like that we're able to bounce, like, this is how I'm thinking and feeling, and I know it's not entirely logical, but it's a very normal thing.
Yeah.
Humans are, yeah, unique that way. Where it's like, oh man, there's also like this whole thing on feelings too. Like feelings are like almost fake and they're temporary, but they're like they're useful and can be useful for survival.
Useful,
And
and they can impact you negatively. So
correct.
it's
That's why.
something. There's something going on there.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like there's like this recognition of like how we are being or acting or reacting or
Very useful.
responding,
Yeah.
that it's funny, like we can think about it but still not change it all the time or not
Yeah.
immediately or catch it. It's like it has to happen and then it has to be like, what am I doing? Oh,
Yeah.
I was being reactive,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
which is a funny human thing. But yeah, so those are nothing major, nothing groundbreaking. Probably like if we were to do this in the next
Not the kind
quarter.
of stuff that you would normally hear though in a panel about these topics. I feel like
Yeah.
something I always found when like I used to go to a lot of conferences, like music industry festival
Oh
conferences and
yeah.
stuff like that.
NAM for
But
sure.
yeah, same idea as NAM or South by Southwest or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There's one here called North by Northeast, which was sort of a parallel to South by Southwest.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's very big anymore, but it used to be massive. But I used to go to those all the time, and
And they have the little seminars and the
yeah, they have
industry
massive
train
seminars. But
industry trainings and
yeah, but it's always like
technical.
yeah, it's never about like how we get in our own way. Like this whole thing of like the racing up
Mm.
to each item and just racing from item to item. Actually, like talking about this now, like I realize a few places where I might do that, things I
Yeah.
have impatience for maybe. But I also see it in other people.
The patience
And
is a huge thing.
and and yeah, it's just like it doesn't work very well. Especially like it gasses you out because in a major way, right?
Yeah, yeah, and the funny thing is that I've really enjoyed about our friendship, man, is like we see these things in each other, you know, um like in the past, like I know that the way I'm feeling or acting or being reactive or impatient, like I've seen you do that and I know you see it in me and I know you see things that you've struggled with in me, and it's like it's sort of like solidifies like, oh, okay, so normal, right?
Yeah.
Normal for that to happen, and there are ways to get around it, and now we have two perspectives instead of just us trying to figure it out on our own, um, which is like apropos of nothing, but also like something I mentioned too is like talking stuff out
Yeah.
and leaning on the people around you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Take what's going on inside seriously, folks.
Yeah, and don't look at it as like a I mean, I don't even know, man. Like,
Yeah, I think it's often a thought in people's, or a lot of people approach these things as like uh, being weak or being something's wrong with you or whatever. And a lot of times, none of that is going on. It's just like, yeah, how are you tripping yourself up?
Yeah.
It's really kind of straightforward. We're
Yeah.
gonna grab a few comments if you're into it.
Absolutely. Do it.
Cool. The first, sort of in line with what we're talking about here, is our pal Anthony Nieto is jumping into the video game.
There we go.
So I don't know how acquainted you are with Anthony, Nick, but I'm rather acquainted with Anthony, and I'm familiar with his music, and he's been, putting music out. He's got music out on all the major platforms and doing all that kind of stuff, and he's getting ready to do some more. But he's jumping into the video game, and I'm stoked on that.
There's room for everybody.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Long overdue. Actually, what I've been the most hesitant about, but feels good to begin. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was massively hesitant to talk on video. I don't know what it was. I was really concerned about my teeth. I have crooked teeth. Who doesn't?
Right.
Other than people who have either perfect genetics or perfect dental surgeons.
Oh man, I got plenty of things I'm self-conscious about that I know for like initially kind of kept me from being on camera. My eye that everybody always says like, oh, I didn't even notice, you know. My teeth too below are
Right.
crooked. My honestly, you know, I'm a hairy dude. I worried about that at some point. So like, you can find reasons to. You can find hurdles to put up in front of yourself all day long.
Yeah. And honestly, I think, the experience of the world has proven to many of us that it is unkind. However, the way to get past it is to just run towards it.
Well, it's also 100%, 100%, and it's like there's a saying that I can't. I have a feeling I know who it's from, but I don't remember the saying enough. But I'm gonna try and surmise it and summarize it, where it's like, don't give things so much power. So like,
Right.
you for your teeth, like you're giving that a lot of power.
I know.
You know, and
it seems insane to me now.
over the course of my life have given my lazy eye so much power, like
Yeah.
ridiculous power over decisions I made, you know, like talking to people or
Yeah.
talking to like it's
In
weird.
this case, the enjoyment of creating things.
Correct. So
so insane.
so it's like and like you said, of course there's going to be negative people out there that are going to hone in
there's
on
tons
it,
of them.
but
There's
it's like
also tons of nice people.
correct. There's more.
There's
But we
more.
don't, you know,
Yeah.
but you know,
They're not
such
as
is
loud.
the state of the world.
Usually.
Correct. They're not
Yeah.
as loud.
The crappy people are really loud.
But like if you just hit it head on, take the power away from it, like they can't
Yeah.
hurt you. Like
Yeah.
like I make fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. My vision's bad. I have a lazy eye. What are you gonna do? If I talk, you know what I mean? Like I
Yeah,
joke about
whatever.
it
It's that
time
it's
to
there.
time in a video. Like what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
I took the power away.
Yeah.
You know,
It's over.
and I think that's what we can do with a lot of things.
Yeah.
with-
I usually say approach those topics with praise and thanks. And
Yeah.
and it feels good to do actually. If I ever have like criticism in videos or on music or whatever, online criticism, I'm usually like explicitly thankful and I usually give praise to the comment. And it feels good to do, honestly.
Well, you're a gentle soul.
Yeah. And 13 Flaws says, I had a successful businessman tell me you always got to allow for the fuck around factor.
Yep.
Bandless isn't monetized, so we can curse on this show. Although I don't typically curse. But that might be the first online curse ever for me.
Nah.
Maybe not.
Meh. But
But
you're,
anyway.
yeah.
But I like this one. Yeah, you always gotta allow. This is what did
Yeah,
you
it's that-
call it? The what is the name for it in retail, Nick?
Shrink.
Shrink. Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of like just think using that exact term.
Yeah.
Factor in shrink.
Yeah. When I learned about it, I was like, oh,
Because
well,
it's
it makes
applicable
so much sense
to your time, because your useful time shrinks when you take a pause, but perhaps if you built it in, it allows you to build something bigger.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a more widely accepted or known analogy for it, but because I spent so much time in my past in retail, like that's a thing I always thought about.
Yeah.
Like you got to build in. It's like, it's like the cost of products too. It's like the research and development is built into the cost of it. Like the pieces of this thing only cost $13, but it's like, well, how many years and like engineers did it take to get to that point where it only, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Isn't that
So
like
you're paying for that.
Picasso's story as well?
What's
Picasso, like, I think at a dinner or something like that, a woman's like, "Can you draw me something?" She was seated beside Picasso,
that? Mm-hmm.
and Picasso drew something, and but he wouldn't let her have it. He just, this is, here's my drawing,
Yeah.
and she's like, "How, can I have it?" He's like, "This much money," and she's like, "How come so much?" He's like, "Well, it took my entire life right up till now to be able to do that." Because
so
she's
baller.
like, "It only took you a minute to draw it." No, it took my whole life right up to now
Correct.
to be able to draw that.
Well, I mean, that goes back to the age-old story of like overnight successes. It's not really the case, right?
But it's totally like what you're talking about with technology. Like, what did it take? It took a team of people and a whole slew of specialized manufacturing for that $13 thing to happen. And it's only because it's being sold in mass that it's $13. But in effect, if you only made one, it would probably be like $4 million.
Right, exactly. So the point is, like, you got to build in the cost of like your mental health and preparation.
Everything.
And
there's a lot more going on.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not just the thing. Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. Do you have your eyes on any more? There's a lot here.
Man, a lot of good stuff. Yeah. Let's see.
And Renato says, "Great to see." Sorry, I already clicked on it.
Oh.
Great to see that everyone has something going on here. Inspiring. I'm looking forward to all of your projects. Me as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, I'm with Renato on that. Oh,
Ooh,
sorry.
what?
I clicked it off when you clicked it off.
Yeah, I know. We're simultaneously. 13 Flaws says, because we are aware of our flaws, they stand out to us, but to most people look at you as a whole, not as a set of shitty teeth or a big nose, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
100%.
That's human nature, right?
Mr. Reed says, "I love that about coming to you guys here, Bunn. I do get the take on the stuff that I don't get too many other places. I gotcha. I gotcha.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
That's a tough read. Like
sort of what I was saying about going to the conferences versus kind of chilling with closer friends, where it's a little, when we're all hanging out here, none of us have anything to lose,
Right.
and we can just talk about it like a bunch of guys hanging out, talking about the thing. What is it really like to do this thing? And what are all the things that are not the cool things, or that are the really boring things, or the really tedious things, or the really, where the things that require a lot of effort where I am not expert at all. People never talk about that when you go to a conference. They only talk about all the superhero parts and what's easy.
Or the 8 effective ways to do this, that, or the other thing. It's like, well, you got it. Yeah, it's so much more.
But what about all the shitty things in that process?
Correct. Take a couple more. I got to tinkle.
Okay, yeah, get into it. Great. bam, I'm going to go down a little bit more. This is I think my first time doing it solo. Whatchamacallit, during Bandless. Yeah, so it's always me taking off. 13 Fly says, mine aren't crooked, but a big ass gap between the two front ones. Talking about teeth, talking about being self-conscious. And yeah, I wish, this is one of those hindsight things or whatever, but yeah, I wish I was like I am now 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and just like run towards it, because yeah, the consequences are very low. Like, what do you have to lose? Like, maybe someone will have a comment. What's a comment? Comment. Hey, nice, nice fangs, Bunn. It's like, well, I have fangs. That's what I have. And yeah, way more progress could have been made if I would have toppled that stuff. Look at the people on Discovery or History Channel documentary. If they can do it, anyone can. Yeah, this is a great fact here about kind of celebrities and show business and kind of putting yourself out there. What's interesting about the more specific a topic gets, the more specialized the topic gets, the less A-list Hollywood the person looks. And nobody cares. No, actually, people don't want to get their information from an A-lister Hollywood person. They want to get it from someone who's actually smart. Not to say that some A-listers are not, in fact, intelligent. I'm sure there's a good handful of them that are.
Totally understand what you're saying, and you make a good point.
But yeah, there's a ton of people out there who are doing great things, like sharing incredible information or insight or great art, who are not winning beauty pageants. Kind of a crucial thing. I like this one. I think I know who you're talking about. Cosman. One particular ancient alien theorist looks like he was sniffing glue before the camera rolled. It's his thing. I know who you're talking, the big hair guy.
Oh, yes. Yes.
He's the meme guy that it just says aliens ?
It's like, bruh, come on. Like, you're playing into it. Like, he's leaning into it.
Yeah.
And if he's not...
Yeah.
Shit, sorry.
And Baritone Cult says, F. They would write that above the door, no fortification under the crown of the king hundreds of years ago. I'm not sure. I think it means like, no fortification under the crown of the king. So not fortified by the crown.
Yeah.
So not recognized by the crown, so to speak. I'm pretty sure. Aaron, give us some a leg up on sort of the context of.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that
seems like a good one, but I just want to make sure that I'm approaching it from the right point of view. Sorry, Baritone Cult, not Aaron. And Cosman wants to know how Brad Pitt would dial in a helix tone. Watch, he's actually like a monster guitar player who's got like sick tone.
Fornication.
Yeah.
Fornication. That's what he meant.
Oh, fornication. Okay, yeah. Okay, that makes way more sense.
He's fat fingering it.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
Oh,
okay, I got
shit.
you. And doing it. We don't want Bob Ross showing us how to dial in metal tone, or do we? Maybe we do.
Who knows? Who knows?
Amazing. Okay. We're gonna grab the last one here.
Yep.
This last one is areas of opportunity, areas to improve, areas to sort of exercise what we have, what our takeaway is with the last 3 months, given what our goals are this year. So maybe, Nick, what is your ultimate focus going forward? And how would you like to maybe, what are some of the means by which you are going to address that as an artist, as a solo artist, but you're also doing a duo thing. So,
Yeah. So I have a few points, but they all sort of
overlap.
Amalgamation of, yeah. Time management is one of my biggest shortcomings. You and I have talked about it at nauseum. You've given great advice. It's the application of said advice. Time management for me, being deliberate with my planning. It doesn't have to be a rigid, hardcore schedule down to the minute, but it's like you said, I love the idea of like getting one important thing done a day. I'm capable of scheduling that. Anything beyond that is an excuse. So being deliberate with my planning, being intentional with my creative endeavors. So it's like, and this is total full candidness. Like, you and I started Bandless, and because you're so deliberately organized, you took on a lot of the planning of the shows, and I was just kind of like, okay, I'm gonna let him do it, which is not appropriate for a couple of reasons.
This one.
I did.
It's well done.
The thing is, it's not appropriate in a couple of ways. A, we're a team, and B, that's what I need to be working on.
Right.
Is planning, and you have all the templates that you send me templates for stuff all the time.
Right.
So acting upon those
templates,
this shortcoming is the only way I'm going to get better at it. And because you've you've taken this leap to be, in it, like this is your shit. YouTube
yeah, this is my livelihood.
Yeah.
Believe it.
So to just kind of lackadaisical let you just handle this on top of like, oh, by the way, you also need to do that, was kind of like a shortcoming on my part. So I saw it as an opportunity, like, okay, it's not going to take much to plan this, and it didn't. Granted, it's probably not as planned as yours.
No, but if we both tag team it, it doesn't need to be super rigid.
Right.
It doesn't need to be so specific. Taking that whole idea that we're talking about, one major thing, just keeping it simple. That's all we need to do.
Yeah. So I guess the part is being more intentional with the stuff I'm digging into. Like, if I say I'm going to do this, am I capable of fitting it into what I'm already doing? And is it going to sustain itself, like, with my interest and, like, is it really something I want to be doing?
Yeah. Is it how you want to be spending your time? Yeah.
Plain and simple. So those are things I think have a lot to do with time. And that's the biggest thing I want to work on going forward, is like scheduling, getting my ideas down, and planning, even to like some degree, a little bit every day. I don't have to turn into a Navy SEAL all of a sudden. I'm not going to be Jocko,
Imagine you did become that.
Insane. I mean, I should probably start working out like him, but
ripped.
Yeah. And then the last thing I have doesn't really have anything to do with and we've talked about it, is patience.
Right.
Because of my impatience, like I made some mistakes on the Baritone build that most people won't notice, but because I got impatient, because I wanted X, Y, or Z to get done, I made mistakes, and it's a learning. It's gonna make me look like an idiot probably in the video, but no. I say that in a good way, because it's like, this is good. Like, this is what happens when you don't plan enough, when you get impatient, and you don't know what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah.
um,
It is your first
you,
build though.
mm-hmm.
So this is
So yeah, that's my thing, man. It's like I want to be more deliberate with my planning, my scheduling, and getting my ideas down. I have ideas for videos all the time. It's getting them down, documenting them. So
yeah.
that's my thing, man.
Everything that I come up with, it's always being updated, and it's a long list. And so that, any kind of video idea, any kind of song, music idea, whatever, any kind of creative idea, I just keep a list that I can
Yeah.
always go to. And in the past, I forgot some things. Like I'm like,
Yep.
realize I'm like, I had a great idea. I can't remember what it was, but I remember it was great.
Yep.
Maybe it wasn't great. Maybe it was terrible, but you won't know if you didn't.
People say that, like, well, if it was good, you would have remembered it. Like, nah, I don't know if that's the case.
Not
That's
always.
not how humans work.
In terms of my music, like my riffs, my favorite all-time riffs came out of something that I just spat out and didn't even realize in the moment that was any good at all.
Yeah.
And it turned out being like, I'm like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever come up with.
Well, dude,
and it wasn't even intentional. It
correct.
was like I just crapped it out.
That was I love the Wells Project. That's what 90% of those riffs were.
Yeah.
We're just like, I want to do this baritone. What were we doing? BO riffs. I want to do this. I'm just gonna write a sludgy riff.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, holy shit, I love this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So satisfying. Oh. Something I kind of want to add to what you've shared there, or is kind of double back on.
Yeah.
Is and it fits into what we just left off on. Is it doesn't always have to be great. In that applies in a whole bunch of different ways. Like, you're not always going to be doing work that is great. You're not always going to be working on things that you love, even if as a whole, you love. I think this is something that's hard to come to terms with like an artist, especially a person who maybe has spent the majority of their life working a job and has a perspective like the job, they really don't like the job, and they don't want their passion to become the job because they associate the job with only terrible. But I don't know if there's many things in life where there isn't an element that, requires a little bit more patience or whatever. Like we're talking a lot about planning and all of this sort of stuff, strategy and planning and being organized and templates and Excel sheets and all that.
Yeah.
I don't like any of those things. I dislike all of it an immense amount.
Right.
But I realized that what I dislike less than that is being stuck in apathy because I don't know what I'm doing. Being stuck because my mind is a mess of everything that I could be doing all at once. Because just all of the things that come out of all of the negative sides of not planning and not being just a little bit organized. And I'm not like brutally organized. I'm just a tiny bit organized. But the little bit of organized that I am gives me far more freedom and enjoyment in the areas that really matter to me.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I don't like them. I don't
like... Jocko, speaking of Jocko, I think he says, like, there's freedom in... Fuck. It's something to do with being regimented. So I'm just going to say, like, there's freedom in regiment.
Absolutely. And I understand exactly what that means.
Right. It's like my tools over here on my bench, like, they're at the point now where they're so unorganized, it's an obstacle.
Right.
And the least
you can't just reach for the thing you want.
Yes.
Because you don't know where it is.
100%. And the least fun thing to do is to clean and organize your tools. But that time...
But the result of it is amazing.
Yeah. And that's what it is. Like, I know you don't like the spreadsheet. You'd rather be writing a riff or filming.
Of course.
I 100% know that. But you have them because like
It makes
this
all of
is
that better.
this is the shortcoming. This is this is where an opportunity will arise to be disorganized or get lost in overthought.
Lost in inaction because of overthought. Yeah.
Yep.
What is
And this
what is the saying we I think it's the saying of our whole year. It's like kind of that loss, being lost in inaction because you're overwhelmed.
yeah.
There's a saying for it, and you have said it so many times this year.
I'll have to go back.
It'll
and
come
give
back
some
to
views.
us.
Yeah, we'll have to watch our previous ones again. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Routine. Maybe that's what it is. There's freedom in routine, something like
Freedom.
that. God,
Yeah.
Jocko says it all the time. But yeah, I know what he means. You know what he means. Most of you guys, if you think about it,
yeah, I can feel it.
yeah, it's like because there's a certain amount of structure, it allows you to be yeah, it allows you to be creative if you're organized with some of your thought to a degree. Yeah.
Yeah. It parallels that whole idea of the trip analogy that we were talking about earlier.
Oh, absolutely.
Like if you don't
And
know where you're going, how are you going to get there?
the trip analogy is probably the best. It's probably the best because the destination will reveal every detail that you could possibly need. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I want to make music, or I want to finish a single for Bandcamp Friday, and I have, XYZ riffs that I've already created that might work, and I have a variety of angles that I can apply to that to maybe make it all work in order to, and if I work on it every day for 2 hours between now and then, in conjunction with everything else I'm doing in my life, I may be able to actually put that together, because that adds up to about 40 hours or so of working on it. So taking the trip analogy and applying it to something like that.
Yep.
It,
All right.
it just makes things look way more doable, and the overwhelm is gone. You're like, I could do that. Suddenly you're empowered.
Yeah, that's 100% it. Like if you have the end in mind and you're able to do the right amount of planning based on that, like you're less likely to approach certain amount of surprises. Now, of course, you have to sort of expect the unexpected, but if you have a certain amount of planning, it helps the process a little bit. I run into this with work sometimes where we get clients where like a vision isn't completely fleshed out, and in the process of editing and creating something, like there's like things that pop up. Can this be done? Can this be done? And that like stops the momentum, and it makes it feel like a chore more than it has to be.
Yeah. What is the end that this decision or this request is serving?
Yes.
And
And it also helps guide your ship. You know what I mean? Like
for sure.
there's things along the way. There's the distraction of the giant, the world's biggest rubber band ball by the side of the road. Like, well, we do have a time we want to get to, so we're going to have to probably avoid this shiny distraction,
Shiny rubber band ball.
Yeah. Okay. So this very matte, dirty.
Very matte, very dirty, very seagull poop infested.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. It's like, if you
it's a-
have that destination in mind, you're less likely to like, no, we can't take this detour because
Yeah,
we're
what's
going
more
here.
important? Our sick vacation in New York City or the rubber band ball?
The rubber band ball, man. It's like,
Yeah,
you
we
gotta
want
make
to
a
see,
decision.
I don't know, our favorite band in New York City at
Yep,
the greatest
exactly.
club ever.
Exactly.
Whatever. It happens at a specific time. Yeah. Yeah, a little bit of scheduling, a little bit of planning, even as much of a bummer as it is, it's still way better than doing nothing. It's still way better than all you got to work with is, I want to make music.
Yeah,
That's great, but
you're gonna spin your
you
wheels.
need a little bit more, because 20 years might pass and you're still being like, I want to make music, and you still haven't taken the. I know people that are struggling with this. I'm an older guy. I'm almost 50 years old, and there's a lot of folks from my sort of teen years and whatnot that on occasion I run into them, and they're like, how do you do it? Like, I'm like, I'm not, I'm not doing,
Not doing a
I'm not
ton.
balling,
Yeah.
but there's something in it. They're like, oh, you're doing all this like cool, fun stuff. I'm like, well, there's a lot of toil in that.
Yeah.
Just so you know, I'm not trying to downplay what I'm doing, but I'm just like, it's not all fun and games. It's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of sacrifice. It's an incredible amount of sacrifice,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And but I just chose, I chose what my destination was. I'm like, I want to be a music person. And I'm like, okay, well, what does a music person need to do?
Cosman looked.
Something.
Oh shit! Sorry guys. Cosman looked it up for me, or he
Okay.
knew it.
Okay.
Discipline equals freedom.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, you're right, man. It's having an idea of where you want to go, and then all right,
Just a little.
what's the first step I need to do? It's like
Yeah.
that trip, man. What's it start with? Well, we got to fill up the tank.
Or no, what's it start with? Where are we going?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Before you fill up the tank. Because
That's
you don't
right.
know how much you have to fill up the tank. Do you? Maybe
Mm-hmm.
if you're just going across the street to the beach, because the beach is only across the street, you don't have to put any gas in the tank.
Correct.
Maybe, you know. I just had to double back on that because I think it's
No,
important
you're
to be
right.
really specific.
No, no, no. You're totally right. I was thinking, yeah, like that's obviously that's an action that takes place after you decide what the hell you're doing. So
Yeah.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
You're
I
right.
guess like the order of operations, it determines what the order of operation. It determines, or it gives you the ability to figure out what the order of operations
We're
need to be.
obliterating
Yeah,
our
and of
analogies.
course, like you can change things along the way. Like you can
Yeah,
adjust along
that's what
a
about
trajectory.
that's when we talk about pivoting and adapting.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Detours.
important.
Hmm.
Detours.
What about your opportunities, Bun?
Uh, Taking advantage of the taking like looking at being on track, looking at being organized, and the thing that we were talking about with you, that sort of like race up to every finish line,
Yeah.
like looking at everything you're doing as a series of finish lines and racing up to each one and gassing out by the time you get to your 12th finish line.
Hmm.
um, I kind of I approached all of that very similarly in a slightly different way, but it's thinking about it that way is a great way to think about it because you understand where you're, uh, why you're gassing out so hard
Yeah.
when you get to your 12th finish line. And um, the benefit of everything we're talking about, something that I'm realizing of, just sticking to it and keeping it simple, like having a definite goal, having a definite like basic timeline, nothing super detailed, um, and that commit of like one major thing every day. Major thing could be writing a script. Major thing could be recording all of the part ideas and putting drums to them. Um, Major thing could be, a full blog post of putting a video up. I don't know. Like major contribution to the finishing of a significant piece of content or music or whatever.
Hmm.
In doing that, there's this calm that you're afforded if you just stick to that. If you're not worried about the finish lines as much, of course, if you have a schedule. So I'm doing this Bandcamp Friday thing. I
Yep.
already know in my mind, I'm like, if I don't make it and I release it like 5 days later, that's okay. I just know that I would be stoked if I could make Bandcamp Friday, just because it's a cool milestone.
Yeah.
Um, but so I do have a schedule that way. If I miss it, it's not that big a deal. But focusing on each day and each day's one thing gives you this calm, and really like getting inside of that. That's my thing going forward, like getting totally inside of that and trying to get real zen about it. Um, I'm not sure what that looks like. I don't have like it's kind of it almost sounds like frou frou.
No, no, it makes a lot of sense. It's it's building towards like, yeah, okay, so we know what the goal is here, like to make music
Yeah,
and
to
to
make
have that
music
music
or to
heard.
make videos, to make
Yep.
to create things.
Yeah.
Like I really like. I never thought that I would be a video person. I became a video person through doing the video thing surrounding music for the purpose of music, and I ended up loving making videos,
Same.
specifically cinematic produced content. I would like to take that to the next level,
Yeah. Oh,
uh,
me too. You have no
and
idea.
I hope to be able to do that in the next year or so. But you know, I'm just starting to really kind of find my way with it, I think. And I think from here, I'm actually going to be able to make much more interesting video content. But yeah, uh, having that particular goal, it's like, okay, I know what the video is that I'm working on that I need to make. I have an idea of when I'd like it to come out. Um, let's try and plug everything in so that that happens, and then work backwards from the end goal, right?
Yep.
So what's the end goal? Okay, what do I have available to me in terms of resources? The resource of time, the resource of tools, the resource of ideas that need to be fleshed out, the resource, all the resources. Take stock of them, plot them along. What you have to work with. Is this possible? Yes, it's possible. All right, let's go. Um, and yeah, just being inside of all of that and really kind of hammering down on it that way, and not being worried about getting it done and just doing the work, and
Mm-hmm.
inevitably it gets done.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Yeah. I think it's all it is a good uh it's a good target to kind of find that balance and zen with all of this, you
Yeah,
know, if because I know that's when I'm at my most creative is when I'm at my most chill with all of it, you know, and I spend more time in that zone than what currently seem to be in or coming out of, you know.
right.
So that's something too. Like,
Yeah, I'm working on a video right now surrounding all of this. I don't know if it will actually ever come out. It's an experiment, but I'm doing a
hmm
video on uh, this little race up to Bandcamp Friday, and the premise of the video is really like how effective is only having 2 hours a day for 15 days, in terms of creating a song. Most people have some kind of an idea of a riff already, so I do have some like riffs. I do have some resources already to work with. But yeah, what does it take to complete a piece of music and all of the other parts surrounding it, to drop a piece of music in 15 days?
mm,
It's a little more than 15 days, but I'm only giving myself 15 days,
right.
2 hours a day for 15 days, and filming the whole thing and making sense of it in the end. And
Yeah.
hopefully it'll be interesting
I mean,
to
it
see
should
what
come out
happens.
either
But
way, right?
yeah, well,
Failure or success.
I've tried to do these kinds of videos in the past and I've scrapped all of them.
Oh man.
You don't
Yeah.
know how many videos never came out.
It's true, I don't know, but I do know that I have had videos that I start. I mean, I have two behind the mixes or whatever I was calling them that I just
Right.
haven't finished.
Oh yeah, I like those.
I do too, but
It's getting nice again, and I'm pretty stoked. It hasn't been nice enough yet, but hopefully this weekend it's supposed to go to 20 degrees Celsius, which is
60-ish.
60-ish.
Yep.
Yeah, warm
Yep.
enough, summer
Warm
kind of
enough.
weather.
Yes, sir.
And so I'm gonna start doing my Into the Unknowns again.
Yeah, I really do love those.
Yeah, well, it's kind of similar to Behind the Mix.
hmm
So
Yeah, that's where I stole it from.
okay, there you go.
I mean, you were my inspiration.
There we go. I mean, But yeah, 2021 second quarter going into it. So I'm curious, what are some of the interesting goals? We know that Anthony Nieto is reaching for, um,
Video.
dropping some videos. Cosman is looking at eating Cheetos and watching reruns of Big Bang Theory instead. No,
Oof.
this is a response to.
No, I know.
I know that I saw
I'll never
earlier.
understand the success of that show.
I've never
By the
seen
way,
it, but I do know that it's a
it's not
TV show.
necessary.
I've there's very few TV shows that I've ever really watched, other than if you go back to the 80s when I was a child.
I mean, yeah, of course.
Knight Rider and
Dude, Knight
the
Rider.
Dukes of Hazzard and
Airwolf.
Airwolf. Yeah. Like all the total like bang 'em up kind of
Yeah.
shows. Um,
I always get pleasure out of someone else knowing what the hell Airwolf is.
Oh,
Dude, and you know the A man after my own heart, I swear to
I used
God.
to race motocross bikes, and when I was just free riding, almost all the time when I was free riding, like big sand pits and stuff like that,
Just
like sand
humming
dunes
that
and
in your
whatnot,
head.
it would be humming that in my head, and I'm like, and just like launching these massive airs.
Oh God, I love it, man. I love it.
Pretty crazy, pretty dumb, but like I don't know, innocent fun.
No, it's not dumb. It is. It's just good times, man.
I'm trying to look for Cosman's thing here. I'm pretty sure Mike Cosman shared earlier that he's working on some music
Hmm.
and getting it all together. I could be wrong, so
Yeah, Apoplexia. I vaguely remember the Ewoks cartoon. Vaguely. Of course, A-Team.
18. Oh man, Animal. I loved Mr. T so much.
Yeah, man.
I'm like,
All of those guys.
yeah, I just liked how stubborn he was, and he was just like, no way, man, my way. Oh, Mr. T. And I wanted all that gold. My parents are like, we're not
Imagine.
getting you a bunch of gold. I'm like, it doesn't have to be real gold. They're like, we're not getting you 400 necklaces. I'm like, oh, come on. So here we go. Here, by the way, we're getting into some comments.
Yep.
I'm just looking for some.
I was
I was
hovering
looking
over
for
that one.
Cosman's, but Cosman, you can share again. What are you working on right now? I think you're doing some stuff. But 13 Flaws says, I've owned a guitar for over 20 years, learned a few chords and riffs, never took it too seriously. Always, I'll start next week. Finally took the steps 3 years ago to take it seriously. Yeah, and seriously could be like for serious fun, which I think is important to kind of consider. It's like if you really love something, you want to do it more, and you really, really want to get inside of it to enjoy it, you can be serious about that. I think a lot of people think when we talk about a lot of this stuff that it's all for the purpose of a career in music and making it a business, and it doesn't have to be that. But I do agree with 13 Flaws is saying here, like taking it a bit more seriously, to have some serious fun with it, serious enjoyment out of it.
100%.
It can change your life in so many different ways.
The biggest reason why I think Bunn and I are so open about, you know, the financials about being a musician and a creative is because we want to make more music and do more creative things. So if you force yourself to be okay with the fact that like I can make a little income that might enable me to do this thing that I love to do more? Why is that bad?
Amazing.
The answer is it's not. So yeah, like when same thing, like when I started taking this seriously, it was because I seriously loved playing guitar, and I seriously loved writing riffs, and I seriously wanted people to hear them. And that was it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
connecting with other people because of what you're creating, amazing.
Yeah, and that's something
I
that,
want to.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to very quickly add in something we covered already, but it's important to think of here is that thing of like some of the, even in this, some of the things that you will have to do. I got this pen. You like my pen?
Yeah. Got
Your
real
Asperger's
serious.
there for a second. But yeah, some of the things that you will find yourself doing, even if you're seriously into it for the passion and the fun of it, some of the stuff you will find yourself doing will not be that fun and you will not be that passionate about.
Right.
It just, everything has little parts of it that are not that great. And I think some people are afraid of those things. They're not a big deal. None of those things are a big deal. And it just comes with everything in life. We all know this. All of us already know this. But
Yeah.
For some reason, it's like this loud, it's a loud part that eats on some people. And I just want to bring that up to the forefront. Say, yeah, you're doing this bitching thing, like reaching for it. You're getting serious about it to get serious about having serious fun. Even in that, some of it won't be that fun. But there will be way more enjoyment in it than there will be downsides. Always.
Correct. Yeah. It's, I mean, yeah, it's keeping the thing going in the right direction.
Yeah.
You know,
Some
those
things hurt
little-
like hell. Like when you have technological problems, you're like,
Yeah.
oh no.
And we've gone through that. You know,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you went through
This
some major
beginning of
headaches
this year.
this year. Yeah. Super frustrating. Kind of really slowed you down. Yeah, but
Yeah.
you
you're
know,
like, oh,
once you get
things
on the
are
other
so
side
good.
of it,
Yeah.
it's okay. It's like it's all gonna be okay.
Yeah. Oh, and I think my mouse just
Yeah, who needs a mouse, right?
connection lost.
Oh, is it still doing that?
No, I just did it just now.
Oh,
I think I need some new batteries. I need to. There's a new. It's a sidebar. We're gonna talk about that off camera.
yeah. Oh, I bought the mouse with the charge, with the. Yeah.
The USB-C input.
Yep. Yes.
Thanks. And, oh, sorry. Not saying this isn't. That's why it makes. Found my Bandless brothers. Amazing. We are Bandless brothers. That's not the one I was looking at. Mr. Apoplexia says, I want to release new music. You just released some new music.
We want you to.
I'm stoked that you want to
Yeah.
release some more.
Yeah.
I've been following that Apoplexia. RoughRiffs has returned.
From his walk.
He went for a walk, yeah. Hope it was a good walk. Whatchamacallit? So Cosman trying to hit Friday. This Friday or Bandcamp Friday? I think you're trying to hit that Bandcamp Friday.
Bandcamp Friday. So it's
Yeah,
not this Friday, it's the following Friday, right?
May 7th, yeah.
May 7th.
2 weeks, approximately.
2 weeks, yeah.
2 weeks this coming Friday.
Yeah. Yeah, Cosman, he's like, "Hey, take a listen, see what you can do." So, no,
Yeah.
I'll have some time.
Yeah.
To twiddle with it tomorrow. So we'll see what happens,
Twiddle
man.
with it. Samurai Pizza Cats. I kind of remember that show. Like I remember that name.
I do
think
not have any idea.
I might have been too old for TV at that point. Is that a thing? I don't think.
Sure
Seems
it
like
is.
mostly old people watch TV, so maybe
Right.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
A lot of TV
and-
talking here.
Yeah, a lot of TV talk
We
going
got
on.
distracted.
BG and the Bear. Baritone Cult says, still here. Brothers doing the
Working on that
metronome and
metronome.
watch 132 BPM. I like that it's like really specific. It'd be more amazing if it was 132.628.
Right. I always think about doing that for like a
For a
BPM on a song, like
You're like, yeah, why not?
so nobody will ever be able to totally get it, and put my tuner to like 432.
Yeah. Recalibrate.
Yeah.
And you're like, what is this? What is happening?
No.
Following.
Let's see.
The hurdle picking Cosman. I'm looking through comments here. Bam, bam.
I like
There we
that
go.
everybody's talking about practicing. It's good.
Yeah,
It's something that I wish I was more deliberate with. Luckily, I play enough every day. Well, usually I play enough every day where I don't feel like I'm not practicing, you know?
yeah. And Mr. Cosman brings up when your own track starts to speak to you, what it needs. It's a wonderful thing. And this is an interesting point because I think it speaks a little bit to what we were talking about momentum.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're always showing up, you're always coming back to it. It seems like this thing happens more and more and more. Things get easier that way.
Mm-hmm.
The music just tells you what it needs. You're like, oh, I know what this needs. It's screaming at me. It's yelling at me. But when you don't have momentum, it's a little bit more. It's a lot more by chance.
Yes.
Seemingly, anyway.
Yeah. And you'd be surprised how little enticement it takes to get that momentum, you know? And it's like we've talked about before. It's like sometimes like, oh, nothing's coming out. But like if you just push that little bit further, you never know. You might strike that vein of gold, you know?
I find with me, it's like 3 days. If what to get on track, it takes about 3 days to get on track.
Mm.
And if I can maintain it past 3 days, you know, things happen. It's been weird over the last couple of years because it's like videos and music is always going, but it's kind of spotty because I'm like, oh, I gotta finish this edit,
Mm-hmm.
and then you know what we were talking about, racing up to the various finish lines,
100%, man.
and gassing out and not being aware of it, and then you're gassed out. So then there's inaction for a couple days a week. You know, in the music, I don't feel creative because I'm gassed out. And
it's funny because I'm feeling that way. Like I am so anxious to start writing more Wells tracks,
right.
but like I still got videos to work on, you know, and this, that, or the other thing, or other ideas that I have cooking that aren't like can't be Wells stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what am I going to do with those too?
Yeah.
But I guess it's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it. Yeah.
Mike Hoover, this is kind of an interesting one, at least like just the way that I'm thinking about it. I'm not sure exactly the context of his of what he's stating, but the part where he says keep an open mind in regards to unforeseen opportunities, when it comes to creativity and whatnot, or even in strategy, like your strategy of activities. It's very easy to kind of like get stuck into a thing of like, this is what I want, this is how I do it. But the more you do something, the more you have this momentum, the more that can inspire other things in two ways. Inspire, you know, ideas within yourself, more, you know, creativity, but also the more you do, the more you're on a schedule, the more it connects, especially if you're doing something front facing. So you and I, Nick, and some of the other folks here are doing things that are going out into the world. So the more you do that, the more it connects with people, and the more unforeseen opportunities pop up. So it happens in a variety of ways, but it's easy to not see them. I have a problem seeing them often in terms of outside things for a couple different reasons. I'm aware that it's a thing, but you know, awareness is the first step to fixing any kind of a challenge that way. But yeah, maintaining a certain amount of openness is definitely good.
Yes, absolutely. Shit. I had a thought and now it's gone. It fluttered away.
and what you can call it, 13 Flaws says, I have the same with my kids, Nick. They don't realize you got to work your way to the top. And what's interesting about this is there's plenty of adults that don't realize
there's probably
this as well.
overwhelmingly more adults. You know, and my kids aren't oblivious to the fact that they're going to dive into something and be good at it. But they're like me, where it's like, okay, I want to try this thing. And it's like, holy shit, I suck at this. And it's like, they know the work that has to go into it. But it's sort of like they sort of like me. It's like a motivational factor, like a little bit hard on yourself to push you a little bit further, you know?
Yeah.
It's just how we respond. It's how us boys in this family seem to respond.
Personal competition in a way.
100%, yeah.
Competing with yourself.
Yep.
Anthony Nieto says, dry erase boards all around the office studio. Huge momentum builder. Bursts of happiness to tick off completed tasks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Simple.
Crossing
right?
that stuff off.
Yeah. So simple.
You know, bam. Oh, that one's not crossed off at all. Well, cross off there. Lots of cross offs there. Lots of cross offs there.
It's good.
Just cross them off. I do have a dry erase as well behind that curtain.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, after the show, I'm gonna go for a little drive, and I need a new notebook because I've scribbled so much in the one I have, and I have like basically when I was in school, going for networking, I just took those and started making them my ideas. But now I'm up against learning how IP addresses are put together, so I'm like, I should probably get a new notebook.
You went to school for networking.
I did.
IT and all that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was just I think I was 1 credit shy of getting my degree for it, and I just...
you could still work in it. That's the beautiful thing about tech.
Yeah.
You know,
I just have no interest to do it, you know?
No, it's not very...
Like, I love it for home purposes.
For your personal use.
Definitely comes in handy, you know? But, yeah, it's not what I want to do. Yeah. I'm in what I want to be doing, video and music. And
you can use those network, network knowledge to build the most amazing NAS ever.
Well, that's exactly what I wanted. I have.
For those of you out there who don't know what a NAS is, it's a storage backup, network enabled.
Network attached storage.
Yeah. And most studios have one of some kind.
Yeah.
All the Bunn has is a whole bunch of Samsung SSDs.
Yeah, I'm still on that game, and I want to get off of it. And I want to be able to, I want to be able to give access to people who need access for stuff, not just for work, but for personal stuff too.
Because NAS you can run it as an actual server.
Yep.
Which is amazing.
And if you set it up right, you can edit off a NAS, and it's as fast as editing off an SSD. Yeah.
If it's like what?
You just get a 10 gig NIC in your NAS and get one in your machine, or I think it's funny, the new iMacs or the Mac Minis now, you can get it with a 10 gig Ethernet port.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah, I saw the new Macs. Those new iMacs are interesting. I'm sure they're very powerful, but
this announcement, without getting too deep into it, just makes me more excited for the next generation.
Oh yeah, like seeing
they threw the M1 in an iPad.
I know.
So it's like,
except I'm like, if they could make it so it ran desktop apps, I would get in on it.
Correct. Well, I think that's where they're going.
Right.
I think that's where it's headed.
Yeah, like open.
OS X and iOS are going to basically be interchangeable at some point. Yeah. I think. But that's nerd shit.
Yeah.
But I am so excited about this next generation of chips because, those iMacs came out, and they're probably not for you and I, but they already have more I/O.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, just with this next generation, in terms of being a creative and needing a machine. I need a machine that is portable. So this Mac Mini is incredible. I think the next generation of MacBook Pro will sort of solve that and also be a machine that is more than any pro machine that I could ever need. And with the two machines, will be the cost of what I spent on the first iMac for both of them.
Oh, yeah.
And be able to do work I've never been able to do before.
Correct.
I'm already doing that with this Mac Mini. I was never able to do this kind of work before.
Yeah,
and it's a $1,000 computer.
It's
insane.
The thing for work that I've been working on for 4 days, like it has red raw footage. It has ProRes raw footage from a Z Cam.
Yeah.
It has Alexa Mini footage.
Yeah.
It's just
insane.
And it handled it.
Yeah.
And I color corrected on it.
Yeah. It's funny. I was talking to Hustler, the live stream guy that we want to bring on.
Yeah. Yes.
I was talking to him. I lent a guitar to him recently, and he's a video guy. So he's worked with Reds. He's produced videos and all this sort of stuff. He does that stuff for a living. And he's like, oh yeah, so like, how is the Mac Mini? Like, I want to get in on this new M1 stuff. Maybe I'll wait for the M2 or whatever that's going to be. I'm like, yeah, if you wait, it'll probably just blow your mind. Because already, for me, I'm at the end of it. I'm at the edge of what it can do. So it just expanded to, like, before I was working within what the computer would allow. And now I've just like pushed it all the way to the very edge of what this will allow. Which is like 10 times what I could do with my Mac Pro.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And but I could still take more. What a time to be alive for a creative. It's
really
unbelievable.
It really is. And, say what you will about the Apple and
I don't
PC.
care about we've talked about this.
I don't care
Apple
about it
or
either.
PC or whatever.
It's pushing everybody to innovate.
It's
like there is a scramble for innovation now.
It's pushing the line that I used to be behind. I don't really feel like I have a line anymore. It's my $10,000 Mac Pro can't even come close to doing a quarter of what this $1,000 Mac Mini does.
Right. Crazy.
As a creative, as a person who makes music things, all that kind of stuff. It's just like, it doesn't really compute.
Yeah. The future looks great for this kind of thing, man. It really does.
Yeah.
Like for music, you don't really need this kind of power. But if you're doing the video thing and everything else that goes along with it, the graphics.
I find it a positive in the music thing, in terms of like internal latency.
Right.
I can run. I don't use a ton of plugins, but I can use anything I want now, and I used to have to think about that.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, whatever I want to do, the computer is going to be fine. There's nothing that I will ever do audio-wise that will bog it down. Whereas before, I had to make a few. There were caveats there. So, that is a benefit.
Yeah, I guess the point I was just trying to make is like you don't necessarily need something like this to make music. Like my 2012 iMac upstairs is more than capable of producing what I do right now.
I think we both have the same iMac.
Yeah, I think so.
Yours is 2012? Yeah, mine is a 2012.
An i7.
Yeah, i7 6 gigs of RAM.
Oh, I jacked mine to 32, I think.
I don't know if mine was capable of going past 6.
Really?
Pretty sure it had a cap. I don't know if that was 6 or 8. Anyway, I did a lot of amazing work with that, and you did a lot with yours.
Yeah.
Only recently. Sure. It's only a year ago that you switched over.
Yeah.
It was last year around this time.
I had PC at the very beginning, built PCs, and then I got an iMac.
Yeah.
And I loved it. then it got to the point where, because, and I'm not blaming Intel, but there wasn't much happening innovation wise,
with
but the
Mac, yeah.
price, the ratios were off. So I'm like, I need to go back to PC to get the bang out of my buck. Built this PC, did its job for sure, still does. It's now getting a little long in the tooth, but then I got the M1, and it's kind of closed that gap. You know, it, things that I'm able to edit on the M1, I can't do on my PC build, which is only a couple years old now.
Right.
You know, so
Do you
it's
find
crazy.
specifically H.265 footage?
I don't
Like-
even mess with it.
Right.
I can't mess with 265 because this computer won't do it.
The PC won't.
Yeah, it won't do it gracefully.
Right. Yeah, I find that's one thing with the new Macs is like H.265 is like no problem. Doesn't
Right.
care at all.
Yeah.
Just smashes
I mean, it's
through.
got a chip or whatever you want to call it, you know, an
For
enclave
that.
specifically for that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I saw this one.
yeah. Okay.
Let's say.
13 Flaws says, I write a riff song that I'm happy with, spend countless hours mixing, hearing the song on a loop, and start to question how good it is. Is it shit, or have I exhausted my attention span for it? Yeah, that's an
latter.
interesting thing. It's so weird to read this because
Dude, everybody goes through that.
I'm pretty sure this is what everybody feels.
100%.
Yeah.
You burn yourself out.
Yeah.
Step away from it from a day or two, I
Yeah.
find.
Do you find, Nick Hill, oh yeah, for sure you do. We've actually covered this before. But like when you go back to stuff from quite a while ago that might be like a little more roughly produced or whatever, and not looking at it from a rougher production standard, but just looking at it from the crafting of a piece of material. And you go back to things that you know for a fact at that time, at the time of writing or shortly after the time of writing, you thought it was crap. And then you hear it now and you're like, that's a totally good piece of material.
Oh man, I do that all the time.
Why was I so negative about it? I just don't even understand. And
Yeah.
there are some things where I'm like, that is clearly trash still.
Yeah. It's just all of the feelings that any of us have, be it you and I or in the chat, we all have them if we're writing music.
Yeah.
There's stuff like I've looked back on, you know, on streams. I've gone back through my archives and listened to stuff. I'm like, man, that was good. Or though that tone was sounding good, and it was a pod HD where everybody was like, that thing is a pile of shit. It's like, no, man, this is good. Or these riffs were good. I mean, it happens all the time. There's and to whose comment we just had up, I forget already, where
13
it's like
Flaws.
13 Flaws says, you know, like, I got this song, I'm proud of it, sounds good, I work on it for X amount of days, and then it's like slowly but surely starts sounding like shit. It's like, no man, you're burning yourself out on it, and you're analyzing too much. It's like, it's a form, I've said this too many times, it's a form of analysis paralysis. Like, you're tricking yourself into thinking you need to do more to it. I do it all the time. I know Bunn does the same thing. Bunn's doing it right now, probably with 3 different projects. You know, it happens, man. So what I know I need to do, it's funny, I've gotten better with some things when it comes to making music. Step back from it, you know, do something else. I always sleep on stuff, sleep on mixes, sleep on riffs, at least a day, if not more, you know.
For me, I find it's the trying many things, like, so not getting sort of, what do you call it, frozen in that analysis paralysis. We were trying to think of a thing or a saying earlier. That's it.
That, oh yeah, that's been my key phrase.
That's your key phrase, dude.
I say it like, yeah.
So something I used to do a lot was I get stuck in this analysis paralysis, just like sitting there thinking about it. And I'm like, just make something.
Yeah.
And make another thing, and just let the fluidity of making things lead you to what it needs to be. And yeah, don't gas out. If you're gassing out, definitely step off.
Yeah, because I mean, I know that feeling of like you write something and you're like, oh shit, this is so good. This is so good. I'm feeling good about this. And you want to like nourish it, or you want to bottle it up. and you want to fucking take it with you, and you're like, I can keep going, I can make it better, I can make it better. But then you're like, shit. It's what if you've said this before? It's like your ROI, you know. There's the diminishing returns thing.
Yeah.
It's like the law of diminishing returns is like, you got to this point, and if you keep pushing it, it's gonna start to decline, man. So like you got to recognize where that peak is, stay around it. You know, you can go a little bit past, you can go a little bit before, but don't overanalyze your shit that you like so much to the point that you don't like it. You know.
Oh, that's a tragedy, is what that is.
It is. And we all go
Baritone
through it, man.
Is saying, what happened to the big screens, the 30-inch IMAX? They're coming with the M2s, the more powerful ones.
Yeah.
These ones that they released are for consumers.
Correct.
For people to look at the websites on, even though they're wicked powerful.
It's more powerful than anybody who ever buys one of those colorful IMAX is ever going to need. But
ever.
Yeah, that stuff's coming, man.
I could edit a feature on those colorful IMAX, but the M2 or MX,
whatever they're going to call it,
whatever they're going to call them, IMAX are going to be 30-inch screens, and I think no
so.
Chin. From what I understand, no chin.
Yeah, I think it's going to be all screen. I'm hoping.
I hope
it's going to be sick, man.
Yeah, but
there's already rumors of the specs for those chips bouncing around everywhere.
Yeah, I don't even need specs. I'm like, if it's even if it's
better than this one, we're
better
be
than
okay.
what they've just done, I'm like, it's already insane.
Absolutely.
As a person making things, I can only be excited to have absolutely
it's
no
not going to get worse.
No, it's going to get better.
Right.
And I already have very limited, like almost no boundaries. If it gets
huge
better,
leap.
I will have no boundaries.
Yes, correct. Yeah, we got to see a huge leap in this, so this is good.
Well, I've never actually talked to you about this. This is a little bit off topic, but I've been effing a lot with Fusion.
Oh, yeah?
Because I can do it now. This machine does Fusion, no problem. Fusion, for those of you who don't know, is a compositor. It's built into DaVinci Resolve. But
Fusion is sick.
It's actually, now that I can really dive into it and really kind of get a feel for
the node-based workflow is pretty nice.
It's great, man.
Yeah.
It's so straightforward, and I just love it.
Yeah, I've done some screen replacements and stuff for work where you can get stock footage of someone looking at something. Screen replacements just so easy because every bit of I need it to look like this, and I need to change the color. It's all the node thing helps you wrap your head around what the hell you're doing.
And a lot of the tools are a lot more powerful in Fusion. So green screen.
My big interest. The tracking is bonkers in Resolve. The stabilization in which is like the stabilization in Resolve is insane. You don't have to drop warp stabilizer on a clip. It's like, oh, you have this clip, and
track it. Here we go.
You just hit.
Great.
Yeah.
Stabilize.
If you guys are getting into video, do not sleep on Resolve, DaVinci Resolve. Do not sleep on it because it's free for a 95% full fleshed out version.
Yeah.
I think you lack some color stuff.
No,
but even
I have all that now. The only thing I'm lacking these days is noise removal and some of the
Is that it?
OFX. But yeah, noise removal is not
the noise removal is not that great anyway. Resolve.
You're better off with plugins. I've been sleeping on buying it because I was gonna buy a camera.
Video. You're talking about video noise removal, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't even know it had it. So.
Oh, it has incredible noise removal.
Does it?
Yeah.
Shit.
I just crush the blacks until there's no noise left. That's why my blacks are always so crushed.
I kind of like a little bit of grain in my shit now. I'm realizing.
Yeah. I don't care. I add grain over top.
Which is funny that you worry about the noise so much and then you add.
Well, it's film grain.
I know.
It just looks more.
It's pleasing.
Saucy.
It does. This is definitely nerd shit. But yeah, we're at 2 hours and 15 minutes, buddy.
Oh yeah, okay. It's time to shut her down. Thank you to everyone
Yeah, thank you
who
guys so
has
much.
hung out in the stream. Got off on a little tangent there. Wouldn't be a Bandless without a
No,
tangent or
we
two.
did so good without getting on a tangent. Really,
Well, we saved it for the end.
we saved it for the end.
I
yeah.
think we were pretty on topic.
Did we shout out our patrons?
We did not.
We should probably do that.
And you want me to do it?
Yes, if you wouldn't mind.
All right. I would like to shout out our pals at Patreon that have supported this show generously. 13 Flaws, Development of a Void, Cosman, Renato, Ben Drakeford, Tanner, RoughRiffs, Borglum, Baritone Qual, Barry Prosser, Kevin O'Brien, and Anthony Nieto. I think I got everyone. And yeah, thank you so much for your help there. If anybody is interested in doing that kind of stuff, it's typically in the show notes. If it's not right now, we will
Everything should be in
definitely
there.
have it in.
Yep.
But it's what makes the show happen, because it doesn't make any money any other way, and the software that we use is a little bit insane. But it works.
A little bit, yeah.
It
but
does.
because of the support from you guys, I paid for last month's and paid for this month's now, so
Sick.
we're good.
Yeah.
I'm paid for.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw the whatchamacallit, the Patreon thing today.
Yep.
Very thankful.
drained
And
it
also,
to
I
pay
have
for
some
it.
content for that Patreon that I'm going to be sharing specifically in that Patreon. I will be sharing it in my own personal Patreon as well as in the Bandless
Oh,
Patreon.
nice.
But yeah, it is specific to things like graphics and whatnot for musicians.
Oh, super
Um,
stoked.
And for anyone who's interested, I'm doing one on setting up a Bandcamp and doing all the graphics for Bandcamp. So you see some Bandcamps with really sweet graphics, and you're like, how'd they do that? Well, the Bunn knows how
Oh
to do
man,
that.
this is great.
So I'm making a video about how to do that, which we'll share to the Bandless Patreon, and some other things like just doing graphics for your covers and stuff.
Right
Like
on, man.
graphics-oriented things for musicians.
I love
And,
this stuff.
Yeah, some Scream videos. But yeah, we're gonna shut her down. Thanks for hanging out. Always a good
Yep.
time. We'll see
Thanks,
you next
everybody.
Wednesday. We may have a guest next Wednesday.
Yes.
We
We got a couple guests that anticipated guests. We have a couple.
Yeah.
We just got to get it all scheduled and all that good shit. So
Na-
thank you
nail-
guys so much for
nail
hanging
it
out.
down.
Yep. And